Man, Michael Jordan's line keeps on stacking. Today we're checking out the newly released Air Jordan 38. Let's go. Welcome back to our channel, guys. As you can see, we got another fun one. We're checking out the newest addition to Michael Jordan's signature line with, of course, his own Jordan brand, the Air Jordan 38. Up to 38 models, and we're going to be covering down, just breaking down all the basic, performance aspects. We'll look at the cushion, the support, the traction, all that good stuff, and I'll make sure to stamp it with the letter grade at the end of the video. Make sure you stay tuned for that. But as always, we just get straight into it. We'll break down some of just the basic info first. I like to start it off with the retail price. So in order to get these in, the price did jump. You're going to be retailing for $200 on the Air Jordan 38 this year. That's up about 15 bucks, I want to say, from the Air Jordan 37 last year. Those retail for $185. Everything's going up in price. I mean, go to the grocery store, look on the aisles. Milk and eggs are more expensive now. So yeah, the Jordan 37 going to the 38 went up 15 bucks. I'm not too surprised about it, but $200 is a lot of money for a basketball shoes. Now we're getting up there in the way of Wade, the LeBron 20s or whatever they are. They're already retailing for 200 bucks. So those prices, I hope you guys are starting to get paid more because the prices seem to keep on going up. Either way, now we'll go ahead and talk a little bit about the design because they did switch up the Jordan 38 from an appearance standpoint from the 37. And they've actually been doing a good job of switching up the Jordan line, at least over the past couple of years. Like I thought the 36s and the 37s looked different. Not in a good way. I didn't really like the 37 model that much. From just the optics of it, it kind of reminded me of kind of looked like a boot, and that was in certain colorways, maybe not in other colorways, but they did switch up the Jordan 38 and they give it a whole different design. So the first thing I noticed is whenever you put these on and lace them up, I don't like that Jordan logo gets covered. All the laces want to run across that little disco looking thing, that little disco design that's on the actual front of the shoe that's on the tongue for the Jordan 38. I don't know. I wish I would be, a little bit more exposed. But a second thing that just jumped straight to my attention was they look very glossy. And I'm sure you can even see it a little bit, here on screen. You can definitely catch it some in the B-roll. These have a polished, kind of like a plastic look. I mean, actually Chase was telling me it almost reminded him of an And One model. And this is the FIBA colorway. I'm not doing them any favors because this is the color scheme that And One would drop like crazy, black, white, gray, or black, white, and gray, or something like that. That's basically this colorway, but I actually do like the FIBA colorway. These look pretty clean in my opinion, but it does kind of give you that glossy, I don't want to say cheap, but if he's calling them, kind of looking like And One, it's a cheaper model. So the design this year, it's a little bit different, but that's not what we're really here to talk about. We want to know how these things play, so we'll just go ahead and jump straight into that right now. So the first thing I like to talk about is going to be the cushion, just how comfortable the model is going to feel. And they switched up the cushioning setup pretty much entirely this year. So the Jordan 37, well, actually, how about we just start off with the Jordan 38? So these are going to have a low to the court Zoom Strobel air unit. That's kind of what the cushioning setup is. And like I said, it's different. It is actually different as far as the tech specs goes. And it actually does feel different whenever you're playing them under your foot. Like the 37s, they were a lot more front loaded for the cushioning setup. I tend to like stuff that way. Whenever even the 36s were actually kind of similar. I was a bigger fan of those because there was a little bit more foam under your foot and front loaded. The 37s, once you slid those on, it was almost like your foot went up in the front. It was just a noticeable bubble up there. I think they called it double stacked is what that cushioning setup was. So like I said, it's entirely different this year, and it does feel a little bit different. You're not going to really notice anything in the forefoot or the heel. It's, basically just going to be a standard, pretty balanced setup. I'm okay with that, but like I said, sometimes I tend to like a little bit more of that spring-loaded forefoot. And the Jordan was a line that was a line that had been doing that. So I guess I'm kind of sad to see that go. But, as far as there is some benefits that came along with that. I know the Jordan 37, the upper on that was this super thin, kind of, I don't know if you want to call it mesh, but whatever the texture was, it was almost like a wire. Not a lot of padding came from that, but the Jordan 38, the surrounding, the sock liner and stuff, does give you a little bit more of a comfortable feel while you're on the court. So there is a positive kind of coming from that cushion section. And we always like to use our durometer to just kind of check out how firm or soft the midsole is. For the Jordan 38 this year, those were reading at a 37. That is a little bit softer than the foam that was coming up in the Jordan 37s from last year's model. I think that was at a 42.5, and they actually had the Jordan formula foam in the 37s. I think the 38s aren't really getting that, or at least it's not kind of annotated on the site. Either way, the cushioning, I'm not going to say it's great, but it's definitely not bad. You got to keep in mind though, we're talking about a $200 shoe. But now we'll go ahead and move on and just kind of talk more about the support and just like the more of like how the model's constructed and stuff like that. So the first thing I do want to talk about is the weight. Whenever you pick these shoes up, one of the first things I was saying is like, it feels like a pretty light model. And this is especially coming from like more of that mid to high top look. I'm not really a huge fan of playing in high tops for the most part. I like something more mid or low top to be able to move around in a little bit better. But whenever you get those higher top shoes, another reason I stay away is they tend to weigh a little bit more. That's actually not the case for the Jordan 38. These are going to be weighing 424 grams, and that is for a size 10.5. And I mean, that's about the same as last year. I mean, the Jordan 37s were 430, but I mean, the upper, like I said, it was much thinner last year's model. The problem with having a thinner upper is, especially, and it showed up on the Jordan 37, the support kind of tends to kind of lag behind if you don't get enough reinforcement on that upper. They wanted to bring the shoe down in weight. I think the Jordan 36s were actually a heavier model than both of these last two that have come out. So I think on the 37s, they wanted to bring the weight down, but a little bit of struggling with the with like that lateral containment, keeping your foot inside the shoe. A lot of that was fixed on the Jordan 38 this year. So I mean, just to highlight the support, it's made with a supportive, I'm saying that word so much, lightweight and mesh. But you also have this embroidered design, and that's something that Jordan really wanted to point out. It's just this crisscross kind of weave pattern that goes on the upper. You do feel really secure within this model. Like, I tried some like really tough cuts, just trying to make sure that there was going to be no movement, no shifting around in there, and honestly I didn't feel it. So support is honestly, that's going to make it one of the better aspects of this shoe. With it being a mid to high top and it being light, like obviously you want to have a more secure feel, and these are going to give you that. You don't get any heel slippage, especially with this being, you know, a higher top model. I did play with these laced all the way up, so I don't really know maybe if you leave one loose, but like I said, it feels like the heel sculpture, it's just very sculpted to be a successful setup. And that's going to go ahead and bring us all the way to the end of the review, where we'll talk about the traction just a little bit. So the pattern itself is just going to be basically a herringbone. You got those like standard arrows going on, but I mean, it's basically all kind of stemming from that logo that's there in the forefoot. But for my money, I will say this: the grip is much better than the 37s and is so much more consistent. Like, I didn't notice them collecting dust at all, and that was something I was a huge fan of. That being said, the traction does only squeak a little bit. So whenever we did our squeak test, it's not making a ton of noise. But right there, I mean, the traction in and of itself is definitely one of the best parts of the shoe. Pretty much kind of the pair right there alongside support. I mean, the Jordan 37s, they just weren't very consistent. Playing in the 37 lows, that's actually the shoes that I got back over here to my corner. One thing I didn't bring up, like I said, the 37s, they didn't do a good job reinforcing the upper. You can tell, you can actually see like this is some of that same material that they used, but on the low top version, they actually made some overlays that went on top of the model, and that helped a lot. That actually basically fixed all of the issues, or any type of issue that I could think of that you would struggle with that model. So I did love to see that, but the traction just wasn't that great, and the pattern just wasn't that great either. These, totally different. They don't squeak, neither did those, but I mean, they don't squeak, but on the court, they're going to feel great. Huge fan of that. But wrapping it up with the sizing, I went true to size, and I mean, the width is going to be a little bit more narrow. Not a huge fan of that, but I mean, as far as the length goes, you do actually get a little bit of space left over. So if you want to go a half size down, you could maybe do it, but like I said, just make sure you're not worried about being squeezed. But to put a bow on it, wrap it all the way up, for the Jordan 38, the letter grade I'm going to stamp it with is a B+. And that's going to be for a $200 shoe. That's not bad at all. I sound disappointed. Honestly, I'm a huge fan of the cushion whenever it comes to basketball shoes. I just like to see how they respond to your foot, different stuff like that. I didn't feel like you got a lot from this shoe. The Jordan 38, like the cushioning, of course, I mean, the traction and the support play pretty good, but the cushion is just like pretty much average. It's just okay. It's not going to blow you away. I actually just played in the KD16. It kind of reminds me of that similar type of feel. Not gonna lie, the KD16 might even have a little bit more cushioning going on. But I mean, overall, for $200, there's still a lot to like, because there are, at the end of the day, no weaknesses. You got good cushion. The support's nice, and it's a lighter model for like a high top shoe. So $200, like I said, that's like all the way on the other end of the spectrum for price range. Whenever it comes to basketball shoes, you're out of that 150, like 175 range, 185 range. It's been creeping. It's finally here. We're talking $200 now. So you're going to have to want it. But if you are going to buy it, it's not a bad shoe. It should be able to do you well. So if you want to buy these, the Air Jordan 38, we'll have a link here on screen or down below in the bio somewhere. Make sure you're looking around for that. Check it out. And also thank you guys for watching this video. If you want to support our channel, just leave a like or a subscribe. We greatly appreciate that. But that's going to wrap up this review. Until next time, I'm Landon from Shoewear. Peace.